Hi, my name is Coach MJ Tolan, Coach MJ for short. And today I'm really thrilled to share with you one of my signature talks, which is Mission I'm Possible. Before we get going, I know all of you have had days where you just had no idea you would get through it, or situations that have come up in your life where you just, oh my gosh, this is just too much to handle. And we've all had it. I know that. I've studied this, I've met people, and I've made it a mission of mine for years to talk and study people who have talked to and study people who have overcome tremendous adversity. And I'm talking about real adversity. People who have had, you would never think that they would ever make it after what they've been through. And they've courageously shown their heart. They've shown up in life and they've succeeded to go beyond any destination achievements that anybody would have thought so. As a kid, we used to have a TV program. I'm kind of dating myself here, called Mission Impossible. And, Tom Cruise made these, that took this TV show and made them into movies. And everybody loves Tom Cruise, right? He's the action man. Now, Tom, he has these situations that you just never, ever would think that his team would get through it, but somehow they do. Somehow they do the impossible. And so today, I'm just going to ask everybody. I know this is kind of hokey, but see these two thumbs up? Well, I'm going to ask you to take your hands, put them just like this, and then turn them inward. That's right. Because I'm going to take the Mission Impossible from Tom Cruise and we're going to turn it into I'm possible. I'm possible. Let me tell you a quick story. So one day I was in Dubai, and Tom Cruise was there shooting a movie. Now I was in the World Trade Center of Dubai, and he was next to the Burj Khalifa, hanging off the building and doing all these daredevil tricks. And I said to my audience, I was doing a Mission Impossible seminar. I said to my audience, here's Tom Cruise over there, he's probably making, $40 million on the movie. I said, but anyway, we're here comfortable in the room. And I'd just like to tell the press right now that I would like to have Tom come over here because I'm going to dare him to come play me a game of darts. Now, you might know two things about me. One, I'm not really a darts player, but I am a strategist. And so I said, but I only have three conditions that Tom come over here and play darts. So first of all, I will put up 1 million euros, and I'm good for it, to a charity of his choice if he can beat me. And all I ask is that he come over, that we blindfold him, that we turn him around 17 times like Zig Ziglar taught us all to do, and then we let him go for it. And all the girls were just like, well, that's not fair. Tom, he won't be able to see the target. And I said, there we go. That's exactly right. How can anybody hit a target that they can't see? And here's what I'd like to inject at this point. This I'm possible mentality, this I'm possible mindset that I have studied that other people have just amazingly gone through has just weighed me away. Now, one of the things that's happened to me personally is that as a young man, when we tried to have kids, we had a really hard time. And probably for about 8 years, we struggled. It wasn't very easy. And finally, the doctors came and said, well, you're going to have twins. And I looked at him and said, you better be telling the truth here. And one day before the kids were born, and yes, they are, they're here today, they told us, well, you're going to have a girl and a boy. Well, that's awesome. So we as a couple decided to give thanks. And so I organized a group of kids from an orphanage to come to a zoo, and I prepared certificates for these kids. And these certificates were I'm possible certificates for a kangaroo that they would adopt. I sponsored a kangaroo at the zoo, and they became moms and dads of this kangaroo. I knew I couldn't find them parents. Come on. But I made them parents. So I turned a negative into a positive. This is all part of a mindset that I definitely have lived by for years and years. And so that became kind of a movement in our organization. And I had companies in different parts of the world. And so we began to do these events here and there and there. And I'll come back to this, but we had started an organization called Time for Sharing. And that's where I was able to also integrate some of the I'm possible uh, mindset philosophies with kids, because if they feel that they're possible, anything is possible. And it all starts with belief. If you're on a plane, let's think about this. And unfortunately, it happens. You go through some bad weather and the plane is shaking. I mean, it's real easy to hold on to the little seats there and think, oh my gosh. And you start to think the worst, right? It's real easy to think about the worst that can happen. The real trick and the pivot is to think about what's the best thing that could happen. What's the best outcome? And there's probably, so many of you who've gone through total adversity and you just had no idea that you'd ever get through it. But imagine to use this I'm possible belief system, because belief is everything. Listen, people who very well have gone through all kinds of medical diagnoses. And, at the end of the day, not every single pharmaceutical drug is the best thing for them. In fact, for a pharmaceutical drug to even pass the test, they have to test a blind test, which is give fake drugs. In other words, the placebo effect. So you get 50 people taking the drug, which is not the drug, the placebo, and some of them believe that they're getting cured. Why? Because the power of the mind is astonishing. It's beyond us all. And so one of the things that happened to me personally was that I was going through a routine check or a routine exam. And now listen, I'm okay now. So when I tell you this story, I don't want you to like tear up, but it's kind of funny. The doctor turned to me and he goes, Coach, would you like the good news or the bad news? I said, well, gosh, give me the bad news. Come on, I'm a warrior. He said, okay, you have cancer. What? Jesus Christ. What's the good news? He says, well, the good news is now we know. So just for that few seconds, I felt myself free falling, as if somebody had pushed me out of a plane and I was falling 30,000 feet to hit the bottom. There was no way I could catch my breath. I was in utter shock. And it was me, Mr. I'm Possible, the guy that did all these speeches in all these countries. Now suddenly, instead of me telling everybody else's story, I have become a story. And listen, I did not want to be a story. And so, I did the whole process. In the next few days, I was depressed. I was fearful. I was scared to death, because the type of diagnosis he told me was, this thing could kill me. And so, of course, when you have that mortal sentence, your jokes are few and far between. And I really had a hard time picking myself up. And I was, getting to this point where, oh, poor me, it's really easy to do that. We have a day like that. Oh, poor me. We have bad traffic. We're going to miss a meeting. Oh, poor me. Something happens. A friend disappoints us. A relationship falters. Oh, poor me. We have that. But at this particular situation, I don't know what clicked. I guess maybe, meeting people like Jessica Cox, who was born without arms and learned how to dance and then do taekwondo, get a black belt, drive a car, fly a plane. I mean, those are just amazing things for somebody who was born without arms. And I always bring her up because she's a hero to me. And so I thought about her and some of the other people that I'd interviewed throughout the years. And I also have a podcast called The Real Mission Impossible Show, where you'll see all the people that I've interviewed who've overcome amazing adversity. And so they were inspiring me without knowing. And so now, instead of saying, oh, poor me, I said, why not me? Why not? Why not me? And so it clicked. And I began to do a little bit of shopping on Amazon. They told me I was going to go through chemo and radiation and all that stuff. And I just said, you know what? I'm not going to do it like a patient. I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to be a warrior. I'm going attacking this thing. And so I ordered costumes. Yes. And so before I would go to a particular treatment like chemo, I would dress up as a warrior. And in 1 week, I would be a samurai warrior. The next week, I would be Gladiator. A lot of you seen the movie. The Gladiator had the exact same costume, but I looked nothing like Russell Crowe. And I had all these costumes lined up. So every time I'd walk in the hospital, people would look at me like I was absolutely lunatic, like I was absolutely crazy. So I had the opportunity to not only do this, but I had so many people come to me and go, Mike, what are you doing? How could you possibly be doing this? And I just said, you know what? You have to live the attitude that you preach. You have to walk the talk. You have to be able to stand up and be accountable for who you are and what you believe in. And that, more than anything else, kept driving me. Can you imagine pulling up? I was driving myself to the hospital. I'm in a costume this particular day. I think I was a ninja warrior with the mask and everything. Then the car, and all the drivers are looking at me like I'm absolutely crazy. I walk in the hospital. Now, by the third time, people started to get it. You know, the nurses were coming out, well, just wonder what you're going to wear today. And some of the patients and their relatives would look at me, and they were pretty amazed too. And I just saw that was encouraging for them and encouraging for me. And I knew this was working. And so I had to, without falter, I had to find a way to be strong enough to overcome that fear, because it's there. And I had to overcome that frightened, inevitable thing that I might not make it through this. And I had to forget all that, just like you do when the plane is shaking, and imagine the better outcome. And so I had to begin to visualize on a daily basis. And I did. And I had help doing that. And I had a friend of mine who would have a call once a week. We'd go through guided meditations as well, exercises. And I would see myself back as a speaker, back on stage, back even with a costume, being able to deliver my I'm Possible talks and keynotes and programs. That's what I've been passionate about doing for years, and I just did not want to give it up. So now that I knew that I was a story, there was nothing going to stop me there. And here's what I wanted to say about this whole experience to anyone who happens to be listening to this today. You never know what life is going to give you. You never know what's going to come up. And, you know, not everybody in the world has a whole cake delivered to them in life. Everybody goes through their ups and downs, and there's nothing that you can do to stop it. So the only control you have is you. The only outcome that you can control is the one that goes between your ears, in your mind. And if you're able to accept the challenge from me, from Coach MJ, to say, you know what? I am possible. I am complete. I can change my outcome, because it's not sometimes what really happens to you. It's how you either react to it or respond to it. And so my response was, I had to summon courage when I didn't have it. I had to summon enthusiasm when it was missing completely. And I had to fake it till I made it, so that I could get myself in the mood, so that I could convince myself and others that I was not a victim, that I was not going to finish from this earth, as some of the medical professionals had told me. That was very good then, wasn't it? But at the end of the day, I knew that I was going to get through this. And so through visualization, through positive mindset, through positive self-talk, through having that particular reason why was I want to do this? Well, first of all, I thought it'd be a good idea to keep living. That was number one. Two, I knew that my mission wasn't done. I was starting to write books more and more, and I just wanted to get more things done, more speeches out. And I just love connecting with people and seeing the glow in their eyes when I might have said something that they really got it and they understood what it was. So I'm sending this message out to all of you today, that no matter what happens, I'm really, really proud of all of you. I know that you can make it, and I know that you can do anything that you wish to do, no matter what that might be, if you'll just believe it. And if you believe it to the point where it's not a childish wish, but I believe it to the point where you have more capability today than you knew that you would ever have before. And you never realized how much capability that you would have. And so for that reason, I say to all of you, I salute you. I know you're going to have a great future ahead. Join me on my mission and make it yours. Become I'm possible. Take your thumbs up, point them to the sky, and point them inward. I'm possible together. Thank you.